And we're back. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Rollsicle. My name is Nathaniel. I'm one of the hosts here at the channel, and I will be joined by my lovely co-host. Oh, there she is, over out to the side. You guys can't see her, but she's there. Say hi.
Hi.
There she is, my lovely fiance. Okay, so we agua important, hydrate. But yeah, so we're bringing you guys another video here. Again, we're sprinkling these in between all of our other videos. So this one, we're talking about a pretty major change that's coming to Pathfinder. For those of you that don't know, Pathfinder, it's my preferred TTRPG. We're on 2nd edition. It's been coming out for a while now. 1st edition dates all the way back to the end of 3.5 and 4th edition for D&D. So it's an older than me TTRPG when you count the first Pathfinder. Or at least it's about the same age as me. So they are making a change, as you can see here, to their adventure paths. And we felt like we should make a video talking about it because this is a really big deal. So I'm just going to kind of read this, go along, give my 2 cents on the subject as we go along, and just bring this to some of y'all's attention because I happen to be on their website and see this blog post, but if you don't see the blog post, you might never know about this. So, this fundamental change to Pathfinder, here we go. All right. Upcoming changes to Pathfinder Adventures. Paizo has built itself upon the strength of its adventures. The first offerings we published set in the world of Galarion were adventures of different types, ranging from short encounters with maps and minis, included to classic 32-page softcover standalone modules, and of course, the flagship monthly adventure line. That is what's being altered here. Pathfinder. This line's name became the more specific Pathfinder Adventure Path 2 years later when we launched the Pathfinder RPG. So originally, apparently, they just released an adventure line called Pathfinder. Didn't know that. And then 2 years later, they actually released the RPG, and they called it the Pathfinder Adventure Path. But ever since the first volume kicked off, Rise of the Rune Lords, nearly 2 decades ago, that's crazy, the format has largely remained the same, even as we've recently shifted to focus on 3-part adventure paths, which happened a while ago. This was really before we were making anything like this on Rollsicle, before the kind of resurgence of Rollsicle. But they used to make like 6-parters every single time that always went from 1 to 20. And then they were like, let's sprinkle in some 3-parters there that go like from like 1 to 11 and then from 11 to 20. And then they finally said, yeah, we're probably never going to make those full 1 to 20s again, which kind of sucks if you ask me, because I really like the ones that are all the way up there. But it's fine. I still love Pathfinder. Anyways, so they made that change to focus on the 3-part adventure paths. The physical nature of the product hasn't changed from a softcover 96-page monthly book. I wish I had an example to show you. I have a ton of them out there. Ashley might go run and get one. It looks like she is on it. She's sprinting. She's running. She's zooming. But she'll give me one to show you guys. But we have a ton of them out there. Okay, so this is something, they're not kidding. Here you go. This is one of the more recent ones right here. So this is like what is it? Myth Speaker, okay? And this is one of like their more recent ones. You can see here, it's about 96 pages, soft cover. And what you would do, I hope you guys can see that. I don't know if you'll be able to, but if you can. Okay, it says part 1 of 3 there, right? So they would take 3 of these, which would then make like a level 1 to 10 or 11 campaign. Okay, so you take the individual parts and together they make a campaign. So this one happens to go from 1st level to 3rd level. And it's all about like Greek style mythology. I'm so excited to run this. Anyways, okay. Everyone shout out to my lovely fiance. The channel wouldn't be anything without her. All right, now, then they said, so this was a natural evolution of the monthly magazine subscription model of Paizo's early days as a magazine publisher. But it was also a necessary side effect of the work and cost it takes to produce an entire campaign. Over the course of 222 months, which for the record is like, what is that? That's 18 months. So 1.5 years shy of 20 years.
Wow.
So that's 18.5 years. Of which only one was skipped a few years ago when they released a double-sized magazine called 7 Dunes of Sandpoint. Okay, so they skipped a month, but they released one that's twice the size, so they really didn't skip a month, all things considered. We kept the Adventure Path line going on that regular schedule, but also over the course of 222 months, the world has changed. which is fair. And it's time for the adventure path to change with it. So at this point, I've read this, I'm excited, I'm at school, and I can't read it anymore. So then eventually I get home way later in the day, not today, but way later in the day, and I finally get to read the rest of it. So, starting next year, we are transitioning from a soft cover, serialized monthly format for adventure paths to a quarterly hardcover all-in-one format. So for those of you that don't know, they have done similar books like this before. Ashley's not going to go run and get this one. Do not go get this one. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do you really want to?
Which one do we get?
Probably the Gatewalkers. That's the one that was 3, and then it was released as 1. If you want to. She is so incredible, guys. Go get you an Ashley. Just not this Ashley. Huh?
No, I'm only your Ashley.
I said an Ashley, just not this Ashley. I love her so much, guys. Okay, so, anyways, they've already re-released some of them. Please don't hurt yourself. Okay, so there were 3 of them called Gatewalkers, and they re-released them as a nice hardcover TTRPG adventure book. This is very similar to what we see in like D&D. And it's got all the fancy bells and whistles, which is really, I mean, it's a book, so there's only so many fancy bells and whistles. But hardcover TTRPG sized book with all the lovely things you expect from a TTRPG book, right? Now, thank you so much, darling. Okay, so they've done this before, but they are now transitioning to doing that quarterly. They're still committed to publishing 4 adventure paths a year, but they will now be published as 4 separate hardcover books rather than 12 softcover books, which I have to say I am very excited about. Because as much as I love the magazines and as much as I love getting something every month that was kind of recurring and I could count on and I would get excited for, I love slamming down a hardcover adventure book and being like, this is the adventure we're playing. The Legend of blah, and everyone sitting around the table is like, ooh, that's a big book, like that's exciting. There's art on it and it's this big tome of adventure versus like slamming down the magazine. And it's like, all right, guys, plop. This week, this month, I mean, honestly, it takes way more than a month, but I don't know. It just doesn't hit the same way as a big TTRPG hardcover adventure book. I know they did magazines back in the day, so magazines are technically like more regular and classic, but I love the hardcover adventure books. Now, this will allow a GM to have the entire adventure path in hand from the start, which is something that I have not had to experience because I haven't ran a Pathfinder adventure path. I've ran Pathfinder Adventures, but not an adventure path, where I've had to consider, in the first book, if I'm running it as soon as that first book comes out, I don't actually have book 2 or book 3 yet. So they can't really reference things in book 2 or book 3 yet because I don't have them. Which should help those who are eager to start their new campaigns on day 1 of release, but who have struggled with how to adjust the adventure for their table while not having all the details of the later parts in hand. Very fair. As a GM, you are often adapting and changing things, and it's really, really important to know where the story is going, even 5 levels down the line, so that you don't introduce something in a way that doesn't make sense later, and then you kind of have to scramble and fix it down the line, which is just more work for you. I keep looking over there because Ashley's over there, so I'm kind of like bouncing every idea off of her. Anyways. All right, now, where was I? It'll also help friendly local game stores keep entire adventure paths in stock and will prevent situations where part of an adventure path go out of print before others, rendering the entire campaign difficult or even impossible for GMs who prefer physical media to collect. Also something I never really considered, because I've bought all of mine from Paizo, gotten them in order, like, consistently. But if I were to walk into a store and they only had part 2 of 3 of a really interesting looking campaign, that would probably really disappoint me. Like, if I saw just part 2 or 3, 2 or 3 of Mythspeaker, that's what it was called, and they didn't have part 1, I would be like, man, I can't start this, but it looks so good. I can understand that. All right, moving on. And from a creative side, it allows us, the writers and developers of the adventure paths, a lot more freedom in how to present the story. No longer do we have the specter, I'm just going to go with that, of what if the GM doesn't have the other book looming over us, forcing us to make decisions on encounters and plots that limit what happens in the 96-page softcover to resources found only in that particular section of the adventure. Very true. If certain monsters come up, you can't say, hey, if they happen to do this, you can show them this monster from 2 adventures later. But you can do that now because they're all together. And you can actually give them a reference and say, hey, this is a much higher level monster. So if they're going to see it, make sure they don't fight it because it'll just kill them or whatever it might be, right? All right, anyways. A three-part adventure path consists of 96 pages of content split over 3 books for a total of 288 pages in all. This new format will start at 256 pages. Yeesh. Okay, so let's keep reading. On its face, reducing overall pages by 32 would seem to reduce the amount of content you get in each adventure path, but that's not quite accurate, since a single volume is more efficient in several ways. We don't have to print multiple tables of contents or multiple orc pages. So that's already like probably 6 pages saved, if I had to guess. Mm-hmm. And the number of back of the book advertisements overall will drop from 8 to 12 to potentially as few as 2. Now, mind you, 8 to 12 is, if I'm not mistaken, between 3 of them. So they're saying like they had up to 3 to 4-ish per book. And now they're going to have probably closer to 3 to 4 for this book, but it's in just 1 book. So that's another place where they're saving like 8, you know? So now we've already saved like 10. Now that doesn't make up for all 32 pages dropped, but Adventure Toolbox will be more efficient and will have greater flexibility in what sorts of support articles we want to include. Okay, so that's also going to be useful. And if you guys didn't know this, because they're in different parts, they do little like synopses of like what's to come and what should have already happened, because you might not have book 1 or you might not have book 3, right? So they throw that in there. I'm assuming they're not going to have to do that if it's all in one adventure, because it's all there for you. They know that you know what happens in part 1 and part 3 if you have the book. In the end, you'll still have the same amount of actual adventure content in a 256-page hardcover as you did in 3 96-page softcovers, but it'll cost you less overall. And I do think they get into the actual price of it. So here are some more facts about the new adventure path. Each volume will be at least 256 pages long. Some might be a little longer, but they are hoping to keep them relatively the same length. I'm still excited for it. I don't know if she still has Gatewalkers over there, but I believe it's a little... Do you still have it? Let's check it. I think it's a little more than 256. I think when they threw all 3 of them together, they basically just... They pretty closely slapped all of them to just in the same book, and it ended up at like 288 or something. Yeah, it's like 280. So it'll be like 30 pages less than this, which already looks like a... I mean, this is a solid adventure right here. If I got this, I'd be like, ooh, what adventures are we going on today? You know, but she is judging me from the side. She's judging me while she reads her phone. Thank you, darling. All right. Each hardcover adventure path will present 9 to 10 levels of play. Now, this is interesting. The same as we've been doing for the past several years. Our plan is to do at least 1 a year that starts at level 1 and 1 a year that ends at 20th level. Then the other 2 will potentially start anywhere in between. So far we've seen a whole lot of 1 to 11, 11 to 20. 1 to 11, 11 to 20. And it's just kind of been that. So now they're saying one of them's probably going to be about 1 to 10 or 1 to 11, whatever it might be. And then the other one is going to be like 10 or 11 to 20, but then there'll be 2 that they can put anywhere in there, which is really interesting to have something that starts at like 4 to 14 or something like that, where you're like, ooh, that's an interesting sized, you know, if I were to take a campaign and say, I want to add an ending to it to get it to 20th level, I'd rather write an ending to something that already ended at like 18th level and I just have to like add a little bit to it, rather than go, okay, this ends at 11 and I need to write 9 more levels worth of content. That's basically a whole adventure that you're writing, right? So I'm intrigued. I'm very excited for that. We're doing 4 a year, but the release schedules will be a bit flexible. 1 will come out every quarter, so 1 in the January to March, 1 in April to June, and so on. So there will be 4 a year, and there will be 1 every quarter, but they won't necessarily be separated by 3 months each time. I'm doing a really bad job of highlighting this for you guys. This allows us more flexibility internally when an adventure path might be more complicated, but also makes it easier to release things in time for conventions or holidays, which don't always line up nice with once every 3 months. line up in a nice once every 3 months row. There we go. I got that. So they're essentially saying like they probably want things to hit for certain holidays, or they want things to hit for certain conventions, or they might need more time to work on them and say, hey, this probably needs another month in the oven before it's the best adventure path we could produce. And let's do that. We don't have to release it like that. They will still be doing a free downloadable player's guide for each of them, which is super awesome. For those of you that don't know that, there is a free player's guide for every single Pathfinder adventure. You didn't even know this. That you can download that suggests what type of character to make that might be the most like fitting for the story. It suggests certain, I think it actually, some of them might even have like specific feats and abilities to take that are specific to that campaign. So it's like, oh, this is going to have to do a lot with the Hell Knights. So you can actually choose the archetype Hell Knight and be a Hell Knight so that you're like incorporated into the campaign. Really cool stuff. I don't even know if you need that, but they do that for everyone. And I do plan, we're starting up a game pretty soon, and I do plan to send that once we pick our adventure to everyone and say, here's the player's guide for this adventure.
Yep.
And it also gives you like a non-spoilery synopsis of what's going on so that you can build your character with that knowledge. You're like, oh, we're set in a city that happens to be during this time in that city. It's a festival and it's a, you know, or whatever it might be. All right, hardcover formats make it much easier for us to reprint entire adventure paths if they prove popular, letting us have more time to bring back older out-of-print adventure paths, like the recently released Gatewalkers Adventure Path compilation, which is what I just showed you guys, rather than reformatting recent 3-part APs that happen to sell out while still in demand. So what they're basically saying there is they only print so much typically, and if it happens to be so popular they need to print more, it's much easier for them to print more of one thing than for them to print more of 3 things, which makes sense. I mean, that makes sense to me. They say a standard hardcover adventure path will have an MSRP of $79.99. Now that's a bit of a hit because D&D adventure paths are $50 and they are, which is $30 cheaper. And the D&D adventure paths tend to go to Amazon and really only cost like $20 to $30. Like they never cost $50. Now I haven't been caught up on D&D and I don't really plan to be caught up on D&D. I plan to make it, I still need to pick some of them up. I plan to pick up all the books that are up to the 5.5 or 5e, 20, 24, whatever you want to call it. And then I'm just going to stop because then I will have had all of 5th edition and I'll always have all of 5th edition. But we have a few that we need to pick up to do that. Yes. So we're just trying to find a good price on those. I don't want to spend $50. I don't want to really pay Hasbro and Wizards. Well, Wizards of the Coast is in there, but I really don't want to support Hasbro any more than we already kind of do for Magic. But Paizo's a great company, so I'm a little more on board paying $80 for a quality product from a smaller company. Paizo's not like tiny, but they're not a huge company, so I can understand why they need that price. And they do make a good point. It is less expensive than the current $89.97 it costs for 3 of the soft covers. So we are in an interesting place there where if you were getting all the soft covers like I was, you're paying less for the same adventure. It's just coming in a different format. And then they did say the total price is actually way less when you factor in the potential shipping cost split over 3 books versus shipping only 1 book, which is very true. They also offer free shipping, if I'm not mistaken, from their website over 100, and you're much more likely to hit 100 in a given month if 80 of it's coming from 1 book, because if there's literally anything else you're getting that month, you're going to get that free shipping. So something to keep in mind. 80 is probably the biggest hit. I would have loved to see this cost 70. I think 70 is probably where I would have been the happiest, but I can understand that they have to put in the same amount of work as they had to before when it was 3 soft covers. Like they still have to write the same amount of adventure. So taking any hit monetarily is probably already hard enough. You know, they were previously writing this much adventure with being paid $90. And now they're going to still be writing that much adventure. And I think 70 probably would have been too big of a hit. But it's a bit expensive for 1 hardcover book, but it kind of puts it in perspective. Now, in the end, this is a change that I'm not only excited to embrace, but thankful. Adventure paths are best enjoyed, in my opinion, all at once, which I agree. And that can only happen if we move away from the older format and embrace the new. I am excited to embrace the new. It's certainly a big change, but in the end, it's a good one. I'll be lurking around in the comments for this blog and we'll be eager to answer additional questions folks have. But in the meantime, here's a teaser for what we've got planned. They actually changed this. Originally, it said for early 2027s, but now it says early 2026 hardcover adventure paths, and I am very excited. We start out with Hellbreakers, a 1st to 10th level campaign that involves the outbreak of a war between the Andoran and the Cheliax? I don't know. Cheliax? Can your PCs make the difference in this violent clash that threatens two of Galarian's most bitter rival nations? I don't know what an Andoran and Cheliax are because I haven't played enough Pathfinder, but I am excited to be involved in the war between them.
Yep.
And most notably, I'm excited for them to finally develop something that goes pretty much from level 1 to 20. Can we look in the next one? Hell's Destiny is an 11th to 20th level campaign that continues the war-torn story from Hellbreakers, but can also work on its own as a high-powered campaign. Can your PCs truly stop a diabolical threat from engulfing the Inner Sea region and casting the continent of Aviston into ruin? Or Aviston. I'm going to say Aviston because that sounds more fantasy. Aviston. Anyways. And then some cool art, and they go on to talk about organized play down here. But this was from James Jacobs, the narrative creative director. There we go. But yeah, super exciting, honestly. I'm really stoked to be getting hardcover adventures from Pathfinder because we've really never gotten that. We had like the standalone Kingmaker thing, and then they would do re-releases of the really popular ones potentially in hardcover, and that was your only option, right? Like I think Fist of the Ruby Phoenix got it, and I didn't even buy that one. Gatewalkers got it, which I didn't actually even mean to buy. I just happened to get because it was on subscription and I didn't realize it before I could cancel. Just saying. And then now it's going to be the actual traditional format. So I'm excited, as you guys have seen in like every other video we have with a background. We're trying to make it our TTRPG collection out there. I've got a lot of books. We have a lot of books now. And I tend to enjoy adding to that collection with a nice, impressive hardcover that really does feel like an adventure. And I'm super excited for it. Darlene, how do you feel?
I'm intrigued.
She hates them. Why are you intrigued?
So I'm kind of curious to see like what it is that happens with these and whether or not, like, how often are they actually releasing?
Well, they're going to be for a year.
Well,
I imagine
how
they'll keep on.
often? Like, is it going to be that we do see consistently that we're getting one at the end of the 3 months and then the next one at the beginning of the 3 months?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're going 6 months. Or, you know, like, how quality are they really going to be? Just stuff like that. Like, I'm just intrigued kind of see what they do with it.
Yeah. Well, see, their adventures are supposedly really quality, but one of the things that kind of takes away or makes it harder to see that quality is you have to look at 3 or 6 of them as one adventure. Whereas now, you can truly just pull a hardcover from D&D, read it, see how you feel about it as an adventure, pull a hardcover adventure from Pathfinder, read it, and compare the two and say, hey, and maybe we'll make a video once we've done that and say, hey, this is how we read, this is like how a D&D adventure reads, this is how a Pathfinder adventure reads, and this is how we feel about them.
Exactly.
Which I'm pretty stoked to do. I have heard nothing but great things about the Pathfinder Adventure Path, and if I know anything about Paizo, this will not drop their quality. This will simply just be a new format that really does open a lot of doors for ways that they can create the adventure, which I'm excited for. So I think my intrigue, which is probably there just as much as yours, has a lot of informed positivity, and I'm excited to see where they go with it.
Same. What, sweetie?
She hates them. But anyways, I'm joking. All right, anyways, thank you guys so much. We hope you guys are excited for this, but let us know. If you play any sort of TTRPG, do you prefer magazine-style adventures? If you don't homebrew, I mean, if you homebrew, you homebrew. But if you don't homebrew, do you prefer your own magazine-style adventures or hardcover adventures? How do you feel about this? I'm really excited. I think it's a massive change. I mean, they've been doing this for almost 20 years. That's basically as old as us. And it's crazy that we're finally seeing the change of that. I saw this pop up and I was like, wow, that is wild that in 20 years they're finally changing it. But I could be more excited. But I'm very excited for this and I'm super stoked to see how it is. When we start getting some of the books in, expect us to make a video or two talking about like how they are quality-wise and what we think if we've read them and all that sort of stuff. So just stay tuned. Let us know what you think in the comments below. If you guys haven't liked the video and you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos about this, let's see, maybe some D&D, but typically more Pathfinder, video games, Magic the Gathering, any and all of it nerdy. We are just a couple of nerds that share our hobbies with you guys. So if you guys want to stay tuned to the channel, we'd love to have you subscribe. Our Rollsicle family's been joining. We're at like 203 at time of recording. And you could be the next person that helps us get to 250. 250 subscribers would be awesome. So thank you guys for being awesome. I think that's all we have for them in this one. All right, well, we'll see you guys in whatever comes next. But until then, may those rolls be ever in your favor. And we'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Bye, y'all.